All right, Melvin Farmer, Ayatollah Marv, man, I'm glad to have you guys back.
All right, cool.
Thank you for having us here, Cam, as always.
Yeah, for sure, man. You know, we worked quite a few times, man, but we really got a special occasion going on today. You guys brought something really special that I know some people have been waiting for. Some people are going to be mad at you for this. So, can you let them know what we got today?
Well, on our previous interview with you, we had a couple of questions or clauses about the paperwork that I gave before, that it came out of Vancouver, and because I couldn't reveal where it actually came from, it took us a clause in what we had to do. But now, through this little guy thinking that because his record was sealed, that we couldn't get any information on him, through the due diligence of Melvin and the people we were working with, we came and we have the actual information with nothing redacted and everything in plain form of what happened in 1991 over to 1993 at the trial and the testimony that Charleston White gave against Antoine Doolittle.
Okay. And you wanted to add to that, Melvin?
Yes, and because of the statements that have been attributed to Charleston White, whereas on, say, Whack 100, when he kept screaming repeatedly and repeatedly, I killed a white man, I killed a white man before I killed a white man. A lot of these statements he have been made, they have been compiled to where a writ of habeas corpus has been filed, because we can prove that arguably this gives us exculpatory information, but he has certainly provided subsequent statements that directly conflict the testimony he gave under oath. In other words, the documents you're fit to see are what he testified to under oath to get a young man a 75-year to life sentence and the other one 99-year sentence. But on the internet, he was making contrary remarks and statements pertaining to that. So that gives us the exculpatory evidence to file a pursuit. And usually when you have a murder, even though you have a preponderance of evidence to prove the murder, on appeal you can also file writs, habeas corpus and so forth to get the sentence reduced or dismissed. And so therefore we're going by there, because at the same time Charleston White was sworn in as a material witness, and statements that he made provided under oath was material in securing the state's conviction against Antoine Doolittle. And because tonight we're going to give you the first ever documents and transcripts to put out there so people can actually see what's going on, because this is a legal issue, we have to read this disclaimer to what's about to occur. Because we're releasing a few of the actual transcripts for the distribution and reproduction, any use, thoughts, or opinions are not the direct express opinions of the Justice for Antoine Doolittle Coalition. As for the updates and proceedings of this writ of habeas corpus, the only ones that are officially allowed to really give a statement are Ayatollah Marvin and Melvin Farmer as spokespersons for the Antoine Doolittle Coalition. So now we have it, and let's get going.
Okay, so for the people who don't know, you know what I'm saying? I'm sure people have heard maybe Charleston White's version of events of what happened, but according to this paperwork, you know, I think we're gonna go over a lot of everything that of what was actually said in the paperwork. But can we just get like a brief description of what all he was accused of and everything?
Well, it's September 18th, 1991. Three individuals walked into the mall in Dallas, Texas, and went to retrieve or steal some jackets They were chased out of the mall by one of the store's employees. They ran out to their car, and one of the other individuals was in the car and let them in the car. Once they jumped into the car, the store employee stood in front of the car and demanded that they return the jackets. A man came up by the name of Michael Levy and assisted the store employee and told them to receive the jackets. These four people were Charleston White, Dwayne Jackson, and Antoine Jackson, and Antoine Doolittle. 14, two 15-year-olds, and a 16-year-old. They were in the car, and as they were trying to leave in the car, Michael Levy, he started hitting the window with an object. They don't say exactly what the object was. He attempted to break the window, and while they had to, so Antoine Doolittle handed the coats to Charleston White, and Charleston White proceeded to throw the coats out on the ground and told them to let them go. So Michael Levy reached into the car and took the key out of the ignition. When he took the key out of the ignition, they told him, man, give us the key, we want to leave. He told them, no, you just stay here until the police come. They attempted to get out of the car. Charleston White claims that he didn't get out of the car immediately. He was in the back seat. And Antoine Doolittle, since the gun was in the back seat, rolled up in his jacket, Antoine Doolittle told Melvin Farmer to give me the
You mean Charleston White?
Charleston White. He told Charleston White to give me the gun. Charleston White gave him the gun, where he shot Michael Levy, and told Dwayne Jackson to get the keys, and they drove away. In the proceedings of that, Ursula Wilson went to junior high school. She knew the boys, and she testified to who they were. Detective Lamar and Detective Wilson went to the residence of the Wilsons, Miss Ella Wilson and Miss Ursula Wilson, little Ursula Wilson, and they took Wilson came over and got a yearbook from the junior high school, and their claim is that she identified the boys that were involved in the mall. So once they involved the boys in the mall, they got in contact with the juvenile detective, Mr. Parker. Mr. Parker dealt with juveniles, so they went to Charleston White's residence, where he lived in apartments with his mother. They couldn't locate him, and they found out that they had been arrested in a prior apartment. When Mr. Parker got over with Detective Lanier, his claim is that he walked over to Charleston White, and Charleston White told him where to go, and he went back to this said apartment and talked to the person in the apartment, and she led him to the patio where Charleston White told him that the gun was that he had threw on the roof.
Okay. Do we have that?
Yes.
Okay. Can we read it?
That's sworn testimony.
Okay, that's in the testimony?
Yes, it is. This is 900 pages of testimony in 1993, 2 years after the incident.
What all paperwork do you have? You have, I believe, 500 pages?
I have 87 pages of Charleston White's testimony.
So what we're going to get into next is we're going to actually go over some of the paperwork and kind of read through some of the transcripts, maybe some of the testimony, some of the police of what they said, and you know what I'm saying, of them confronting Charleston White about all this and everything. Okay, so what we're about to get into right now is the actual detective's testimony about Charleston White taking them to get the gun.
Excuse me, correction. Telling he didn't take him anywhere. He was in the police car. And he took the detective, the patrol car that arrested him and Antoine Doolittle had them in the car when him and Detective Lanier came. He's a juvenile detective. He knew them prior to this. So what he did, he went to Charleston White. And Charleston White told him to go back to the apartment that the police arrested it in and that the gun was on the roof.
Okay, got you. This item here, somewhat in the center right on the photo, what is that? And so his answer is, that is the piece of dark colored cloth that turned out to be a shirt. Question, okay, is the weapon right next to that? His answer was, yes, ma'am, it is. Is that how you saw it once you climbed up on the roof? Answer, yes, ma'am. Question, show this part of the jury where Gina's door is. Answer, right there. And that is leading to the particular residence. Question, that is the same door you used to come out on the patio. Answer, yes, ma'am. What is this dark colored item here? Answer, that is the dark colored piece of cloth that I observed that turned out to be a shirt. What question, what is next to it? Answer, handgun. Question, and that's how you observed it? Answer, yes, ma'am. Question, is it on here where you climbed up on the roof? Answer, yes, ma'am. This is the fence that I climbed up on top of, and it had a flat surface, so I was able to walk down. Question, does that look like a weapon that you saw up there on the roof depicted in State's Exhibit 18? Answer, yes, ma'am, it does. Miss Jones, Your Honor, I don't know what that is. I will pass the witness. Question, Detective Parker. Yes, sir. You said you were called to assist Detective Lanier in this investigation. Yes, sir. So it's safe to say that the detective Tom Lanier was in charge of this investigation. Okay. The next part of this is from the same detective.
Detective Parker.
Parker, direct, yes. Detective Parker. Question, Detective, did you make contact with Charleston White at any time? Answer, yes, ma'am, I did. Question, and what did you, after talking with Charleston White, what did you do next? Answer, we went to a location where the reported weapon that was used in the offense was supposed to have been discarded. Question, where was that location? Answer, on the roof of the apartments at the Wood Hollow townhomes. Question, okay, did you walk over to that apartment and knock on the door, or what did you do? Answer, we knocked on the door and was greeted by a lady that was identified as first name only was Gina. Okay. Question, I saw as I walked out onto the apartment patio, I was scanning the roof line where information was that the weapon may have been up on the roof. Then it says, Mr. Mackey. Objection, Judge. The information again is hearsay.
So going back, and when we talk about that, after his contact with Charleston White, the only person that he talked to, he went to the murder weapon. So to get the clarity, the only one that could have told him about the murder weapon is somebody that knew where it was.
Right.
So to take any gray area out that Charleston White didn't tell this detective in the car that Antoine Doolittle did the killing and the gun was in that patio at that apartment.
Right, okay.
So for basic clarification for any nitwit that feels like that, oh, well, he didn't say that Charleston White took him to the weapon. No, he didn't. He told him where it was.
Gotcha. Okay.
And that's basically what he testifies to, that he went and got the gun. And then Lanier came with him. Well, he went and saw the gun, Detective Parker. When the investigating detective Lanier came with him and assisted him. They went on and they retrieved the gun, the black clothing, the black shirt was a shirt that belonged to Charleston White.
Okay, right. Right here it says, question. Okay, did you see anything else up on the roof at that time? Answer. When I saw the clump of cloth, I walked to the top of the roof line where the clump of cloth was, and I saw the partial exposure of a handgun. Question. Okay, what did you do next? Answer. I told Detective Lenore, who was still at the location, what I had seen and requested crime scene.
So what it means by crime scene, this was an investigation, and he cut the apartment off as a crime scene. What he said that he seen the weapon, that's the police bullshit. He seen the shirt, and to make it legally, he didn't have a warrant. So what he did, he made it a crime scene, and he already knew that Charleston White had told him the gun was wrapped up in the jacket.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's the real. What the paperwork is that he's seen it, it was in plain sight, but no, it wasn't.
Okay.
Now you got Charleston White's direct testimony.
Okay. Okay, so basically what happens here is the cops come to him, to Charleston White, and he just immediately starts cooperating?
Immediately.
Okay.
His testimony and all his film is that first we lied and then we all told the truth. No, we all didn't tell the truth. You told your version of the truth.
Okay.
And the only one they got out of it scot-free, if you call scot-free, he just got association aiding and abetting in a crime. And because it was Texas, he was in juvenile. He never went to prison. He was in a facility with coeducational facilities, which he never took advantage of. He was being punked in the facility he was in. And he testified against Antoine Doolittle because after Antoine Jackson, he took a deal for 99 years at 16. I can't say what Antoine Doolittle, what he was thinking, but my assumption is once he seen that his two crime partners had already taken a deal, he was going to go to trial because they had already accepted a murder. Antoine Jackson didn't come to court. Dwayne Jackson was already dead. The only one that came to court against him as the prime witness, the only one that could testify to what actually happened was Charleston White. So Charleston White wasn't 14 anymore. When he came and testified against Antoine Doolittle, he was 17 years old. And he knew full well what he was doing. So he's not just a snitch, he's a rat.
So between 1991, and this is coming from Antoine Doolittle mouth, who I talked to from prison, as well as his brother Luther. The timelines go after the arrest. They had them all incarcerated in juvenile hall from 1991 to about from September 18th, 1991 to around December. And they took 3 of the defendants and took them to a certification hearing, which is basically where they would be tried as adults. But during that period, Charleston White never went to be tried as adult, to be certified. So starting in 1992, all the other 3 defendants were segregated from Charleston White until 1993 when he returned to court. But prior to that, when they were in juvenile hall, all 4 of them had made agreements to take the 5th. But all the time, Charleston White had made an agreement with state prosecutors to become a material witness. So he was basically being held without charges because they didn't charge Charleston White till after his testimony secured that these young men one would take, like Ayatollah Marvin said, one took a deal for 99 years. The gunman was facing capital punishment. He ended up getting found guilty and he took 75 years. And Charleston was sentenced to the juvenile facilities to do his time. So when we hear Charleston White talk about they huddled up, they came together, and they felt sorry for me, and they stopped me from going to prison, he never was in danger of ever going to prison. Also, as we said earlier, which you look at the statement, Charleston White's been telling everybody on social media, I killed a white man at schools, I killed a white man. But when you look at his direct testimony, he clearly points to, in fact, he states, they asked, do you see the shooter in the courtroom? And he said, yes, the man in the gray suit. And then they asked him, what did he have on back when it first happened? They say Levi's and this. And he didn't say, Charleston White, I'm the one that did it. Charleston White said, Antoine Doolittle is the gunman. And he placed the gun in Antoine Doolittle's hand. And it was his direct testimony and eyewitness account that accounted for this man getting a 75-year sentence.
So he part of his deal was that he got to be tried as a
Juvenile.
juvenile.
You don't go to trial. It's a ward of the court. It's a hearing, a commission hearing. So he was allowed to go to juvenile facility, which at the age of 21, you get out at the numbers, 14 when he went in, 21 when he got out. That's the max you can do. So when he made his agreement, based upon the testimony that he gave to be sworn and true, that's what indicated his sentence. So he never was facing a prison sentence at all. Never was leaving the juvenile facility.
Okay, so what we're going to be getting into next is Charleston White's actual testimony.
Charleston White's direct testimony.
Okay.
His direct testimony.
From when he was on the stand and when he took the stand and he snitched on everybody. And I think the first part we're going to get into is his actual deal.
Okay.
Because he was offered a deal in exchange for, I believe, for his testimony and his cooperation.
2 years before that.
2 years before that.
Yes. So let's get into Charleston White, the actor, and then you can get into the real Charleston White, right? Can we do that?
Sure. At the top, it says Charleston White.
That's what it says.
And it says, a witness called on behalf of the state, having been duly sworn, testified on his oath as follows. Direct examination by Miss Jones. Question. If you would state your name again for the record, now that we are on the record. Answer. Charleston White. Question. Charleston, how old are you? Answer. 16. And where do you currently reside? A. Giddings State School. Question. Is that part of the Texas Youth Commission? Answer. Yes, ma'am. Question. Why are you at the Texas Youth Commission? Answer. For murder accessory. Question. For murder. Answer. Yes, ma'am. Question. How long have you been there? Answer. 19 months. Question. Okay. And before you went to Texas Youth Commission, did you have a hearing in the juvenile court? Answer. Yes, ma'am. Question. Okay. At that time, did you admit your involvement in the offenses of which we are on trial today? Answer. Yes, ma'am. Question. I want to show you what has been marked as State's Exhibit 39. Answer. Yes. Do you recognize that? Yes. What is that? Answer. A plea bargain. Question. Okay. Is that an agreement you entered into at the time you entered your plea or your case was taken care of? Answer. Yes, ma'am. Question. Is that a certified copy of that agreement? Answer. Yes, ma'am. Question. And does your signature appear on this agreement? Answer. Yes, ma'am. And who else's signature appears there? Answer. My mom's and my lawyer. Question. And your lawyer? Answer. Yes. And also some attorneys for the state. Answer. Yes, ma'am. Miss Jones, Your Honor, we offer State's Exhibit 39. I am tendering to defense counsel. Question. Mr. White, looking at State's Exhibit 39, this is a statement and agreement you made between you and the states. Answer. Yes, sir. Question. in exchange for your testimony? Answer, yes, sir. Question, and that's your signature on there. Is that correct? Answer, yes. Question, you made that agreement on October 22nd of 1999. Answer, yes, sir.
1991,
Right,
not 99.
you're right. October 22nd of 1991.
1 month later.
Okay, 1 month later. Okay.
1 month after the incident. That's generally the whole of his testimony, his agreement, and he followed through his agreement.
Well, it says, case number in the matter of Charleston Damon White in the 323rd Judicial District Court of Tarrant County, Texas, entitled Agreement to Enter into Stipulation of Guilty and Plea Bargain Agreement.
Right.
This agreement to enter into a stipulation of guilt and plea bargain agreement, hereafter called the agreement, is entered into by and between Charleston Damon White, hereafter referred to as White, acting both individually and by and through his parent, I'm not even going to say her name, and his attorney of record, Carl Mallory, and the state of Texas, acting through the district attorney's office of Tarrant County, Texas. Okay, so I think one question that a lot of people might have for you guys is, why exactly have you guys went through this trouble to get all this paperwork and to do all this?
Well, on Hidden Corners, we have a legal aid department that we call Justice for the Innocents projects, where we do cases pro bono, where we help, advise, consent, and do the research where we think somebody's violations had been violated, civil rights had been violated. In this case, Antoine Doolittle. What started this and inspired us to get involved was, as I said previously on your show, I had been contacted by their family members, Antoine Doolittle, as well as his brother Luther, and what we can do to help try to get some relief for this young man in court. So as we start going through the history of Charleston White's statements, looking for an angle in which we might be able to get this young man relief, because as of today, the young man has been eligible for parole since 2006. But Charleston White keep going to the parole board here and making victim impact statements, telling them not to release the young man up under this program with the Department of Texas Corrections, which is called IVSS, Integrated Victim Service System, which Charleston White is a member, because it's 3 categories to be a member. You can be the victim, a witness, or a concerned citizen of somebody that's incarcerated, and they will notify you of parole board hearings, transfers to different prisons, anything. So Charleston White is on this confidential list, to which allows him to come because he was a witness for the prosecution, to where he can come and give a victim statement. And so Charleston White has actually been going to the parole board, having this young man still incarcerated. So with the other evidence we have compiled from the film clips, statements, and other things, we have a list of audio and video tape to where he's giving statements that are disproportionate to the information he gave at his hearing. And once again, that opened up exculpatory evidence to where we think that we can take this to the United States Supreme Court as a Brady infraction, prosecutorial misconduct, as well as misrepresentation by counsel. We don't think that they gave this young man the best advice. We think he was railroaded into taking this deal, because usually when you are going into trial, you have a witness list of all those that are coming to testify against you. and he told me that he was surprised that Charleston White was coming to get him. And once again, we have to also look at the fact that Charleston White, as you previously heard, say, we killed a white man. No, Charleston White killed 2, 3 black kids' lives by not riding the beef on his case. And we feel that this is an injustice and that this young man's civil rights were violated. And we have to make a choice between the voice of reason or the voice of treason. And we feel that we have the right to fight for this young man because his voice is silenced by the prison walls that hold him in.
Let me say this. I got into it on a whole different level. When my approach to Charleston White, and when I started investigating the things that he said and from where he was in his juvenile detention and the claims that he made in the atmosphere that he lived in, it just didn't appear to me that he lived that life. And once I started focusing on how his case came about, and I had a person that was in the police department and had brought up the police report that was redacted, and I came on Capone's show, and I first said that what happened with Charleston White, and when it went down, that I didn't want to get the person in the police department's job put in jeopardy. So we laid on it. So Cam got scared of political corruption or whatever the fuck he was scared of.
I was scared.
And so when I exposed to Cam how we could get back at him and what he was saying, he like, well, man, go somewhere else. We don't know what to do. So in the proportion of us trying to investigate, Melvin did his due diligence, and we came up on not dealing with. I didn't know who Antoine Doolittle's whole name was, and everything that we filed about Charleston White had been sealed. And this is the part of a psych patient. He never really realizes that there's more than one way to enter something. So he was so comfortable at dealing with non-thinkers that, oh, my case is sealed, I got a misdemeanor, this and so Melvin went on to find out on the appellate court, like he said, Antoine Doolittle's brother got in contact with him and started giving information. And when he got the information, we went on to the second phase, and it was able to make this all come to light. And when it came to light, we found out who the real Charleston White was, and found out that, he's been living under the illusion of somebody else. And he's a delusionary, and he's a poor little guy that's trying to be somebody. He want to be a superhero. And it's been working for him. And all these other guys, Hakeem Jackson out of New York, that thought he was such a celebratory, articulate guy, and that Charleston White was some big hero, and he said everything. What was wrong with you? You've been to prison and you got hoodwinked by this little rat nigga. So all of those coons that followed this dude and believed everything he said, and that this was, that's what's on them. But the reality is that he's just a little guy that's trying to make a big move in a world that ain't even his. He talked about this DC Young Fly, and well, you ain't. And they said an OG checks DC Young Fly. DC Young Fly been through more than Charleston White has been in the real world. Charleston White's been faking a gangster by reading books and talking to other people. He became a Crip, and a authorized Crip through Melvin Farmer. And nobody know him in LA before that. And then nobody know him after that.
Wait a minute. Charleston White was claiming to be a Crip?
See, what y'all don't know is...
Yes. You didn't know that he learned how to...
At that age, at the age that he met you?
When he met me, In 2018, Charleston White came to Los Angeles where he had been followed. I didn't know him at all. Charleston White came to me. I sent you the video. You've seen it, where it says, he's stating, Melvin, I've been following you on social media. I liked what you're doing. You're one of the very few ex-gang members that don't brag about what you're doing and trying to help the community. This is how I met Charleston White. And he said, I just had to meet you, and I came all the way from Texas just to meet you. And that's how me and Charleston became together.
Under the influence of not knowing, he became a real Crip. He was getting molested and bullied in the facility he was in the juvenile facilities. He know Bub, one of the boys that was in, because how do you be in a place for 4 or 5 years and you have nobody to come on and say, oh yeah, I know him, he was legitimate. He was in protective custody in Gideon's juvenile facility, and a white lady by the name of Miss Popple came and brought him a book about Monster Cody. And he read the book and led the lifestyles of Crips in California. And when he came out, he started telling boys that didn't know anything about gangbanging, about Crips. And he said he was a 60 Crip, because that's what the guys had told him when he first got there, that he was a 60 Crip. But he read about Monster Cody. He didn't know that Monster Cody was an 8-tray gangster Crip. And he didn't know that 8-tray gangsters and the 60s had a war for 20 years. So when he got out and got in contact with Melvin Farmer Skull on Facebook, he came to California trying to find a Crip life, and went into St. Andrews Park, the headquarters for 8-tray gangster Crips, and asked for Skull and told them that he was a 60 Crip. And they like, when? How is you a 60 Crip here? And Melvin told him, oh, he from Texas. He with me. So his whole past came from Melvin Farmer. For you to, the same way he turned state evidence on his crime partner, he turned rat on Melvin Farmer, because he had him looking real crazy in California when he went back to Texas.
Wait, let me get this straight, man. Charleston White shows up at St. Andrews Park and
What,
says,
did he, Melvin?
I'm from the 60s.
He came up to St. Andrews Park and told me he's from the rolling 60s. And he's been following me on Instagram and all social media outlets, audio, video, prints, and that he admired me and wanted to meet me. And so we had a discussion about some things that we videotaped right there, and I took Charleston White up under my wing. And in fact, I was managing Charleston White, because he does have good messages when he ain't acting a fool. So I get him and me, Alex Alonzo. And in fact, it was in December 2018, I hosted the annual tribute to Tookie, to which you hear him say dispersion remarks later in the game. But in 2018, I was giving a tribute to Tookie, me, Alex Alonzo of Street Games. This when I had my radio show as KPFK. At that time, I had 2 shows that I had produced for this radio station. One was called Conversation Piece, and the other one was called Voices from the Streets. So I invited Charleston White to come along as my guest and be a co-host with me. So I got him on that, and then the Nipsey Hussle incident happened. That's how I ended up going to Nipsey Hussle. Me, Perry Manuel, Peak Winbush, Raymond Washington's daughter, Rayshana Washington, Byron Logan, Barefoot Pookie. We all went together and met over Perry Manuel's house, where you can see the film when we leaving, which was viewed by 21,000 people in 1 hour. But the one that was behind the camera while we was live was Charleston White. So when we go to Nipsey Hussle funeral, I'm with Farrakhan, because he was the speaker, and I just had finished talking to Black Sam. But Charleston wasn't running around like he say, I'm looking at air. Miss Charleston was with Rayshana Washington, walking all up in the rafters and doing what they do. And so after that, if you Google Althea Moses, Olympic sprinter and champion at the Olympics back in Atlanta with the bombing, she has a program in Inglewood where she needed a curriculum written for her program. So I said, I got Charleston White. He's at this time he was calling himself Nat Turner, not Charleston White. It was Nat Turner. So I said, I got a buddy named Nat Turner that pretty good at writing curriculums for children and stuff, and we're gonna help you try to get the funding and so forth and so forth. Then another incident that I hear him talk about is when he started selling clothing and stuff off rodeo. That wasn't rodeo, that was down in the fashion district of Los Angeles that I turned him on to where we realized that, hey, we can get these bootleg purses or whatever, and they sell at exorbitant prices in Texas once they got there. So I gave him that hustle. And then he was telling me, man, I've never been arrested, I need a job. And I told him, man, if you've never been arrested, you can get any job you want out here in California. Youth and the minority. So he started searching, and that's the job where he talked about a lady came and gave him a job at a halfway house. That is not where he got the job at. The job was in on Wilshire Boulevard in an office like One and Done, a program that assists ex-convicts and stuff like that. So I had been doing things with Charleston White way before what you see the transformation that's occurring now. I had managed Charleston White in 2018, 2019. In fact, all the way up to Valentine's Day of 2021. We did a show with Christopher Darden. I put that together in Texas during the cold front. And if you ever Google Melvin Farmer speaking on NBC News about the cold front, you'll see me mention him. So we've had a prior relationship way before now.
You had no idea about his criminal history or that he was associated with a murder or nothing. He never mentioned that.
Never. But I never did nothing around him as far as breaking the law. So then he had some guys that were Bloods in Texas. That's the 6th zone. That's all Bloods in Fort Worth. So I introduced him to Babalu. And Babalu ended up going out there doing a book signing this right after he had came off of Keb Mac videos. Babalu had announced his book had been published and for sale. So I hooked him up with some guys that had came out that was staying in Marina Del Rey on a yacht for 3 or 4 days. And they paid $500, wanted to offer me $500 just to introduce them to Babalu. So no, I never had knowledge of Charleston's prior case for the murder. No, I never knew nothing of his history.
Why do you think that Charleston White has so much influence or able to keep this guy in jail? Like what's going on? Like, why is he continuing to keep this guy in jail also?
Well, he's not continuing to keep him in jail. He's assisting. In his assistance, it's not a doubt, because Charleston White was not the only one that testified against Antoine Doolittle. So but he's the only one that continually goes to the parole board against Antoine Doolittle. So it's not that he's in a position to say why he keeping. He knows why he's keeping him in there, because now he's created a scenario, and Antoine Doolittle had no avenue of expression other than the prisons in Texas until he found the outlet to reach out to Melvin Farmer. So it's always been Charleston White's story instead of the truth. And for whatever reason, the other brother that was released, he just stays out of it, you know. So I mean, that's the way Texas do. Let go and let God. You know, I'm just happy to be out here. So Charleston White has been able to run amok on everything in Texas, because Texas boys believe that he worked with the feds, he worked with the police, and they scared to say anything. So the people that I talked to that was in the juvenile facility with him was like, man, I don't want to really talk about it now. That nigga wasn't doing none of that he was in there with us. But man, I ain't trying to shake no trees. I'm on parole. I'm still, because they still in the street. So the most of the people that he dealt with are still in the street. He's living somewhere on a witness protection program. He's not in the field. He's not. All this talk about him doing community work, where have you ever seen him doing any community work? He's either in his bedroom or in a car that he's doing these commercials. You don't see him in a park. You don't see him passing out clothes. I do all this community work. First of all, he's a liar. I have no graduation. The university he said he went to has no authorization of a Charleston white ever being in their school. All of that law stuff that he's talking about, changing laws, I don't see nothing in the court reports or in the legislation that Charleston White has assisted anything in juvenile detention. So all of this is bluff for non-thinkers. It sounds good, and I don't care about this. And Charleston White talk about all the gun violence he got. He's never shot anybody. The most he ever did, he said, it was Soulja Boy. He shot pepper spray in the air. And he said Soulja Boy ain't legitimate. And Soulja Boy shot somebody that tried to break in his house. Charleston White he got 20 guns, he claimed. He's never shot nobody with any of the 20. Show me the record. So Charleston White is a liar. He's an intimidator. And for people that live like him after Corona, a lot of life became introverted. And everybody relies on the podcasts and media to live their life. And he's a meme. He's the town jester. He's the Sambo for the black community. Fuck this, fuck that, I don't care. I heard that man say one time, fuck Moses, and where Moses is buried at. Wow. So he's an extremist. And we're the first people to call him out on his extreme bullshit.
And let me reiterate the importance, back to your question of why Charleston White, because Michael Levy's sister, which is Sharice Blood, I've been in contact with her for the last 10 years. She has given her blessings for this young man to be released. He's going back up for his next parole hearing next year in 2023, and for another shot of freedom. And we want to be in a position to, when we go to that board meeting with his family and other people, that we can get this young man to the relief that he's truly deserved, to where a 15-year-old didn't get a chance to live his life. We just feel that at that age, a young man should be given another chance in life, such as Charleston White was, than anybody else. And in fact, if you'd have looked at the show that me and Marvin did when we opened the premiere Gangster Chronicles, but they cut it out, we had been talking about the juvenile justice system prior to this. So this is just a caveat, the work that we do, because we plan on addressing the Texas juvenile system, with this possibly being the face for what we're trying to do to change it in restorative justice and redefining the community, not only in Texas, but the juvenile system as a whole. We feel that it's 3 areas that need to be addressed when it comes to stopping senseless gun violence. That's the unified school districts, parks and recreations, as well as the juvenile justice system. So this is just one of numerous areas that we address when we look for civil rights violations that affect America.
Okay, let me touch on something real quick. Did you say that the family is okay with this man getting out of jail?
Michael Levy's sister, Miss Blood.
Her name is Sharice Blood. Yes.
The only person showing up to keep this man in jail is Charleston White.
Yes, sir.
So the last hearing that he had in 2006, Miss Blood, she said that she forgives him, and she doesn't feel like God should forgive him and that he should be able to retain his life, and he was detained because of Charleston White. The rat.
Do you know what Charleston White said in these
I wasn't
meetings?
there. Do you know what he said?
No, I don't.
These are
Let's find out.
confidential hearings that are kept. The transcripts are set and kept by the Department of Texas Correctional Facilities, and this is also exclusive. The IVSS Club is a confidential, the way everything is confidential. But because we have legal standings within this, we're allowed to get privileged information from the attorneys that also work with us. So we couldn't say, as Marvin said, do we have the testimony or anything, but we know from the tapes that we've heard and those that have given the dispositions, but we are not eligible or qualified to give those out.
This man's earliest parole date right now, as of he's been locked up since 1991. His earliest parole date is 2066.
Okay.
Where you gonna be in 2066?
I'm probably not gonna be here.
Huh? Ain't that too much for one young black kid? In the psychology of juvenile psychology, it says a child does not formulate a decision-making process until they're 16 years old. So anything that happens with a child and a child's mentality, you can't hold him accountable for at that time. So now you take a 15-year-old that 4 days later he turns 16, and you give him this much time on a murder that it's not like he did not do it, but what was the element and what was he thinking and what was his upbringing that brought him into this situation? And probably he wouldn't have had any of this type of time had not been for Charleston White testifying against him.
Yeah, I could definitely see that this
And
guy
also-
has did his time, and you know what I'm saying. I don't know,
And
what he's been
also-
like in jail, but he definitely probably sounds like he's deserves some sort of second chance.
And also because of Charleston White sworn testimony in court, to where he was making statements like after Doolittle did the murder, he didn't show no more remorse and all this, the way he explains it, those add on to mitigating circumstances could also hinder him. So his testimonies and what he's been saying, these type of things add on to what they would call, what is it, mitigating circumstances?
Charleston White testifies in court that he tells you that he gave Antoine the gun and told him to shoot him, and they laughed about it on the way leaving. His testimony in court, it says that Antoine told him, give me the gun. He gave him the gun, and Antoine shot Michael Levy. When they were leaving, they asked him, why you shoot him? He said, he'll know better next time, and he laughed about it. That's his testimony in court. Contradictory what he says on podcasts, that he was the brains of he took everybody to do everything. So why didn't you get time for being the head of the crime?
Yeah.
So this little man is more of a psychological deficiency in his life than it is really malice or callous. He wants to be famous, and he's got this fame and glory, and it's good. But his time is up now. The truth is being told.
Yeah, that's for sure. So I'd like to get into a little bit of his testimony, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what that's where we're gonna go to next. This is a direct testimony of Charleston White from when he testified in 1993 from the crime that occurred in 1991.
Yes.
So I'm not gonna read the whole thing because it's long as hell, but I'm gonna read just read like the basic, most important parts that I believe Ayatollah Marv here has highlighted, and so one of the first. So I'll just kind of go through it little by little. Question: did you go to Pueblo Creek Apartments to see Antoine Doolittle? Yes, ma'am. Did you see the person? Do you see the person in the courtroom today that you know as Antoine Doolittle? Yes, ma'am. Would you point him out and an article of clothing he is wearing. Answer: black suit, white shirt, and gray tie. Question: is that him on the end of the table? Answer: yes, ma'am. Question: Charleston, what did you call Antoine Doolittle? What was your name for him? Answer: Twan. Question: Twan? Answer: yes, ma'am. Okay, and the question is, okay, did you ever refer to him as Antoine? Answer: every once in a while. Okay. So this is the part where they kind of talk about where they're getting into stealing stuff, or where they're planning on stealing stuff. Question: all right, and now you were going to get these pants at Dillard's. Answer: just go try them on and just run out. Okay, did you have any money that you were going to use to pay for them? Answer: I didn't, but they did. Question: excuse me. Answer: they had money, but I didn't. Question: okay, were you planning to use that money for the pants? Answer: no, ma'am. Question: so you were planning to steal them? Answer: yes, ma'am. Question: and did anybody ever talk about putting them on under their clothes? Answer: yes, ma'am. Question: whose idea was that? Answer: Big Twan's. Question: so after you talk about the clothes and going to Dillard's and going to a mall far away, did you ever start talking about going to any mall that was closer? Answer: yes, ma'am. Okay. Question: Charleston, whose idea was it to take a gun with you to the Form 303 Mall? Answer: Antoine Doolittle's idea. Question: Antoine Doolittle's? Answer: yes, ma'am. Question: did somebody get a gun to take with you? Answer: yes, ma'am. Question: and why did Antoine want to take a gun? Answer: just in case we have some problems on the way, like got stopped trying to get the jackets. Question: okay, and was that gun placed in the car, in DJ's car? Answer: yes, ma'am. Question: and who placed it in the car? Answer: well, DJ brought it in the car. Question: okay, and where was it put? Answer: it was put in the back seat in between me and Big Twan. So you and question: so you and Big Twan were sitting in the back seat? Answer: yes.
See the contradictory statements? Well, prior to this conversation earlier, we had discussed, and Mar played a tape to where on Vlad he said he gave the young man the gun. That's not, I mean, he said that he basically instructed everybody and everything, but once again, his testimony is contradictory to what he said in court. In this case, in instant offense, he's saying that somebody else brought the gun, but when he tells the public story, he's the one that took the gun. So there go a contradictory, and this is what we're trying to get at in our search while we're fact-finding.
Right, in the public story, he makes himself seem like he was much
more superhero
involved
than what he was.
Right, okay. Okay, so this leads into the actual part where they actually do the crime, which is, kind of what you already described, but I'll go through it just a little bit. So I'm going to start with the question. What happened when you all ran out of the store? Answer: one of the employees ran out behind us. Question: were you aware that he was behind you at the time? Answer: yes, ma'am. Question: what were you all doing as you were running? Answer: just running. Question: were you saying anything? Answer: no, ma'am. Question: did you run out the same way you came in or in a different way? Answer: ran out the same way we came in. Question: okay. Did he keep on following you? Answer: yes, ma'am. Question: where did you go when you ran? Answer: we ran outside the mall, and little Twan, he was just pulling up, and we ran straight to the car. Question: is this the same vehicle that you talked about earlier? Question: answer: yes, ma'am. Question: where did you go when you saw the car? Answer: I got in the passenger side. Question: where did DJ go? Answer: he got in the front seat of the passenger side. Question: did you get in the back seat? Answer: yes, ma'am. Question: where did Big Twan go? Answer, he had dropped the jacket, so he ran around the car and picked the jacket up, and he got in on the driver's side of the car into the back seat. Question, when you got up to the car, where was little Twan? He was in the driver's seat. Okay, question. I'm going to skip a little bit because I don't want to I'm not going to sit there and read everything, but question, did you notice anybody else come up to the car? Answer, yes, ma'am. Question, who was that? Answer, Michael Levy. Question, did you know his name was Michael Levy at that time? Answer, no, ma'am. Had you ever seen him before? No, ma'am. Question, and is Antoine saying anything to him right now? Answer, yes, ma'am. Question, what is he saying? Answer, he was saying that he didn't know what we had went in the store and done, and started saying, man, what did you all go in there and do? Question, was that loud enough where the Foot Locker guy could hear? Answer, I'm pretty sure. Question, how was he acting? Answer, as if he didn't know what happened. Question, did he know what happened? Answer, yes, ma'am. Question, so what is the next thing that happened, Charleston? Answer, he was hitting the windshield. Question, let's back up. Who was hitting the windshield?
Let's distinguish. When he said, yes, he did know what happened. The guy that drove the car, Twan, he told them that he didn't know anything that was going on. He never went in the store. He never took a jacket. He never took anything. Charleston White implicated him. And when he's talking about Michael Levy, and the guy that ran out for them at the store, he stood in front of the car and told them they couldn't go anywhere. Lil Twan was the driver of the car. He didn't move. The window was down, and Michael Levy, is going to hear the testimony, he took the ignition keys out of the car.
Question, what was your reaction when Mr. Levy started banging on the windshield? Answer, that we were caught. Question, that you were caught? Answer, uh-huh. Question, did Mr. Levy say anything? Answer, no, ma'am. Not that I recall. Question, okay, what is the next thing that happened? Answer, he reached off in the window and turned off the car and took the keys out of the ignition. So at this point, it just says they threw the jackets out.
No, he says that Antoine Doolittle gave him the jackets and told him to throw them out.
Okay.
Is that wasn't that not the testimony?
Well, I just was reading right there. It says we threw the jacket. That's out.
Okay.
Big Twan handed me a jacket and I threw it out of the door. Question, what happened next? Answer, I told him to give back the keys. Question, you told who that? Answer, Michael Levy. And he said if we wanted the keys, we would have to wait for the police. So Antoine got out of the car. Little Twan got out of the car and walked around towards the back, and he told DJ to go get the keys. Question, did DJ go get the keys? Answer, yes, ma'am. Question, what did DJ do once he got the keys? Answer, he got in the car and cranked it up. Question, where did Little Twan go after he went around and talked to DJ? Answer, he went to the front of the car. Question, what happened next? Answer, I was getting ready to get in the car and I seen him point the gun at him and I heard a shot and I looked up and I seen, Michael Levy holding his chest, stumbling back. Question, let's step there for just a second.
Stop.
Okay, it says step, but okay, you're right. Let's stop there for just a second. You said you saw him point the gun. Answer, yes, ma'am. Question, who did you see pointing the gun? Answer, Little Twan. Question, where did the gun come from? Answer, I handed him the gun out of the back seat of the car. Question, when did you do that? Answer, as he was hitting the windshield right before he took the keys out of the car. Question, Mr. Levy was sitting on the windshield and before he took the keys, you handed Antoine the gun. Answer, yes, ma'am. Question, why did you hand him the gun? Answer, because he asked for it.
What did he say?
Why did you hand him the gun? That was the question they asked.
And what was his answer?
Because he asked for it.
Okay.
Question, where was the gun before you handed it to him? Answer, it was in the back seat between me and Big Twan, covered up with my shirt. Question, okay, where is Antoine when you see him point the gun? Answer, he is standing like in front of the car a little bit. Question, and you show the jury with your arm how you saw him hold the gun? Answer, pointing like that. Question, are you holding your arm extended out pretty much all the way? Is that accurate? Answer, yes, ma'am. Question, did you notice what Mr. Levy was doing at this time? Answer, he had his hands up. Question, was he staying in the same position or was he moving? Answer, he was walking a little bit. Okay. You know, basically it just says that Antoine shot him. You know, we don't need to go into the details.
He didn't tell Antoine to shoot him at all.
Right. Right, he did not do that. Okay. So I believe that we pretty much covered everything.
So it's enough hood evidence to show that this man is a rat. He told on his crime partners he didn't do any of the things in this crime that he alleged he did. He claimed that before this he had a shooting and he had a stolen car, and none of that's in evidence or in court records. He doesn't have any felonies. That's why he's able to possess a gun and why he's on the witness protection program. So this dude is a registered liar. He's a fantasizer, and he has everybody hoodwinked on who he is. And regardless of that, I just didn't appreciate that I came on your show after he told us that we couldn't come to Texas and do anything, and that couldn't nobody prove that he was a rat. And anybody that would say he was a rat, that he would give him an award, a reward for that. We come to collect. We got everything, 900 pages of testimony in the Antoine Doolittle's trial, where the major testimony and the number one witness was Charleston Dion White. And he had made a deal to testify against his co-defendant in 1991. So there you are, Charlie. We got you.
I don't believe he's gonna pay the $50,000 or the $25,000.
Somebody gonna pay it.
He sure
Well,
the fuck
if
should.
he doesn't, we trying to come with a resolution at the forefront to get a young man out. It's a tragic case all the way around the board, and we're hoping that we can at least get Charleston White to quit going up to this young man's parole board hearing and giving a witness impact statement as opposed to coming and speaking up for the young man, such as their family members that want this young man released. And we felt it's an injustice that the young man should be doing this time at this day and age, is to where a 15-year-old kid has been in jail since he was 15 and now 45 because of the testimony that somebody willingly participated in a crime but chose to tell on everybody before he thought they was going to have a chance to tell on him. Because we have to remember, these other three youths took the fifth. One took a deal, the other one got us slain, and Antoine Doolittle never testified on his behalf in court because Charleston White had sealed the case and the casket on this young man's life with his possibly fraudulent and tainted testimony. So this isn't about whether he been snitching or whatever he did prior to that. We're going off the transcript records of what was stated, and we feel that the discrepancies and the statements that he's been making can arguably get this young man back in court for a reduction in hearing and possibly a dismissal, which we doubt. But we're just trying to get the young man some relief because, as we stated before, we feel that his voice is silenced behind the walls that keep him incarcerated.
Yeah, he's been in jail, what?
30 years.
30 years.
And some change.
As a 15-year-old, that's horrible. How old was he? 15 or 16?
He turned 16 4 days. He turned 16. The crime happened September the 18th. His birthday was September the 24th when he turned 16.
So
he's 54 years old now.
That's horrible. I mean, yeah, they've you know, they be doing that, man, trying kids as adults, man, and that's nasty, man. 30 years is a long time for a crime you committed when you were 15 years old.
It's 30 years is a long time to be married, let alone be in prison.
Right.
Why would you want with a woman for 30 years? I'm just saying.
After 30 years with the same woman, you might be ready for jail.
It's life without a possibility.
Okay. I hear you, man. I hear you. Well, since our last interview, videos have surfaced of Charleston White detailing raping a woman. I don't know if you guys have seen it or not. Have you seen it?
No.
Let me show you.
An actual video of him actually doing that, or him saying that?
Saying it.
Talking about it.
But it's pretty damn convincing, I'll tell you.
Right.
And there's another one too.
Mm-hmm.
There's another video where he openly admits to it. I mean, they openly admits to it quite a bit, man.
After this is, when this concluded, it'll be people that'll be brave enough to step out and put Charlie where he really need to be.
You had mentioned, or somebody had mentioned that something happened to him when he was in juvenile hall?
Yes.
He was assaulted or something?
Sexually assaulted.
He was sexually assaulted.
What they say, abusers become abusers.
Exactly.
And this is one of, what is the other guy's name that with this Hassan Jackson? DuPont or
Dewberry?
Dewberry. These two coons here, they give so much praise to Charleston White when he was in his glory. And Dewberry, he did like 20 years in prison. This Hassan Jackson, he was in New York State Prison, and there's some question marks about his sexuality also. But how do you be influenced by somebody like this that's such a fraud? And you talk about how eloquent he is and how on point he is about prison, and everything he talks about getting convicts being fucked in the ass. I did 25 years and I never wanted to fuck. It ain't just like that. Everybody is not homosexual, they go to prison. And he puts it, and for all those soothsayers that want to believe this type of rhetoric, you know, it just adjusts to the crowd, that he has a sick crowd that wants to believe what he says and have no evidence of it. So, yes, it's been told that when he came in Giddings, that he was first. This is a little boy that weighed 97 pounds with one eye. And the most vicious system it is in the system is the juvenile system. It's worse than the penitentiary because everybody tries to be grown. Everybody wants to be a man, and you have to stand up on your word. So I start bullying people. I take care of I do what I do to the weak and make him. So they had him going on missions, had him doing different things, and they were molesting him in his first 6 months in his facility. And the only way that he said he had to go to the hole to get outcried, he was the worst in there. But the only thing that made him survive when he found out he was in a facility by himself, he fought the administration so he wouldn't have to go back to the dorms with the people that he was in the dorms with. So after he had been there about 2 years, this lady, Miss Pumple, gave him the book of Gangster Cody. And he read the book. And he became a real Crip. Because in Dallas, them guys didn't know nothing about what was happening on the West Coast. And once he read the book, he a hell of a guy, read that book with one eye. He read the book and started naming names and saying things. And when he got out, he started professing to people like he was Moses. And they was like, oh shit, Charlie, hell of a guy. He a real Crip. And he started talking about his homeboys, but all his homeboys, the people that introduced him to Crips was 60 Crips, had never been to California. But the man that he admired, who he knew was a super Crip, was an 8-tray gangster Crip. And he didn't know the difference. And none of the people he talked to knew the difference. And once he got out, he put that banner on. And he looking in Facebook, he's looking everywhere, and he looked up on Melvin Farmer. Oh shit. He put his pennies together and he came to the West Coast to see the master. And then just like every other serpent, he turned around and bit the master and went back and put out a gang of venom about what happened. Not saying that our coast is the best coast, but everybody want to be like Compton. All over the world. So somebody that hadn't been there, my only problem was Charleston White. For whatever he said, Melvin handled, I don't handle LA. I don't do nothing in LA. I'm from Compton, 10 square miles. We have our own problems. And he opened his mouth and said something about one of my people that I took offense to. And all I wanted to do was talk to him about it. And Melvin set it up. And people in this media feel like he came on your show or he came to California. We went to Texas on his turf and made him run out of the studio. Because he can't handle the truth. This gonna kill him.
And you know, the last time I checked, the last time we was in Texas, I said there'd be no debates. There is no debates here. We have a man that talk about changing the penal system, changing rap, changing gang banging, do the right thing. He needs to do the right thing. It's like calling a kettle black. Somebody else's house is dirty, but yours just as dirty. How do you expect change when you can't make change with the things that you did when you made a mistake in life? Until we correct this wrong, there's nothing that he can say that can validate or change anything. He has no vested interest in it. Right now, you have to stand up and bite the dust. He said nobody could prove that he had any documents where he could snitch. Stand on your words. We have it right here. We don't honestly expect no $25,000, $50,000, but if you stand, well, Mark, I'm saying we honestly, I do too, since he bragging about what he got. But at the end of the
Charlie,
day,
we got the paperwork.
It always come back to us, basically trying to get this young man out of prison. I don't care about nothing. I don't even look at social media because of the words that are exposed, telling, I showed this. That's idle fodder. To me, it's really not news. It's just somewhere somebody holding up a camera, making a podcast, but does it really make news? It's like entertainment, lip boxing, tongue wrestling, and verbal gymnastics is what I see going on the internet, and I don't want no parts of it because the FBI are watching, Homeland Security is watching, all the alphabets are watching this. The internet is being used by blacks to where it's being misused. So many times we're risking our life to try to go viral, to try to go live, to try to become famous. And in the end, very few are really successful at that game or doing that. You really must have talent to succeed in the entertainment, arts, acting, rapping, all this. So once again, I'm not attacking nobody, not going at nobody. I'm just going for justice for Antoine Doolittle at the end of the day.
Yes, that man definitely deserves justice. I agree with you guys. You know, I think it's very dirty that he has show up to a parole hearing to try to keep that man in jail, especially after the family has forgiven him. So, which I even believe Charleston White has said that the family has forgiven him. I think I seen somewhere in one of his interviews he said that. So, you know, that's pretty disgusting, if you ask me.
Right.
Okay.
Well, some of the biggest news that we've had since last time seeing it in one of you guys is Eric Holder's case. Nipsey Hussle's trial. Well, not Nipsey's trial, but Eric Holder's trial for the murder of Nipsey Hussle. Did you guys have a chance to check that out, or what did you guys think about all that?
Well, I have information privilege to that. And I've been asked on other shows what's my take on the Nipsey Hussle, Eric Holder trial. And there's 3 areas that I look at. Witness, victim, witness, suspect. In this case, you have Eric Holder, that's a suspect. So when I look at it, I don't look at it with the name Eric Holder. I just look at a suspect in the court of law, which me and him has been in. And usually when you're in that position as a suspect, you want the best representation that you can get. I had been on Vlad TV where I had said that Christopher Darden had volunteered to represent Eric Holder. And he had the right to represent Eric Holder, but because of public outcry and pressure, to me, when you don't use the term or the name Eric Holder and just the suspect, that's when you 360, not 180. I felt that his civil rights were violated, just as Doolittle's, because he wasn't given the afforded rights that they have in America. When it comes to the victim, in this case, it would be Nipsey Hussle. I don't look at it as the victim. I just look at it that if somebody lost their life, and did they have the right to life? So in that case, Eric Holder should be held accountable for taking Nipsey Hussle's life. Simple as that. When it comes to the witness, let's use Cowboy as a good example, to where we hear a lot of flake about should he testify or shouldn't he. Either way it go, it was going to be a damned if he do or damned if he don't. Water half full or half not full, because of the fact of his association with Nipsey Hussle, that's his buddy, and his family. So he has an obligation on one hand to testify on behalf, because the family would look at him crazy like, hey, now you're not going to help your man. So I look at him when he speaks, he's speaking on behalf of Nipsey Hussle, telling you that it's wrong. So him as a witness, he has a choice to be a witness, to where they say maybe, oh, he a snitch or whatever, but at the end of the day, when you take away all the titles, the young man had a right to testify. But the real tragedy at the end of the day is the wasted lives lost. A very talented young man has lost his life. Eric Holder has basically thrown away his life. Cowboy has to look out for his life. So this is a very serious misuse, and at the end of the day, it also brings back to what we were saying earlier today about the misuse of the internet and how it can play a role in your demise. So I don't look at it as with no title. I just look at it from a perspective of what are these gentlemen's civil rights in every 3 categories. That's my take on Eric Holder.
Do you believe the Cowboy did the right thing?
I believe he had the right to do whatever, to testify or not.
When you say he did the right thing, looking out for your homie is the right thing. And whatever it takes, they got a case, this out of New York, not Felix Mitchell, Mickey Moore, out of New York, got arrested. One of the biggest kingpins in New York at the time of the 70s. He's the first black to ever bail out on $1 million bail. And but it was President Carter made him public enemy #1. And so when they finally arrested him, he had looked out for everybody in Harlem, his whole crew. And when he looked out for him, he took the rap. They could have did the same thing Suge did. Everybody talk about Suge, and what Suge is not even a gangster, but he never ratted on nobody. He took it. He took the beef. Whatever happened, everybody that told on him, he never told on nobody. So Mickey Bonds, that's his name, Nicky Bonds. So Nicky Bonds, he gets in prison and he's looking out. So one of his top lieutenants, he gives him position to take over. And he's in the federal penitentiary doing a life sentence. And his boys are starting to tell him that, man, we see your boy with your wife. And he's rolling up with the crew, with her in the car, and he high signing with your girl. Mick say, well, man, what kind of loyalty is that? I brought this dude in and he up in the club with your wife, not your girlfriend, with your wife. And she hug rugging with this dude. He tells the man whatever it takes, because Nicky Bonds was hooked up with, what's the boy, the gangster name?
Which one?
John Gotti. John Gotti put him down, right? So he was one of the biggest black millionaire in the 70s, built out on $1 million cash bond. Mickey Bonds telling, man, kill this nigga, kill him. So loyalty and money is two different things. So dude was paying them and they thought Nicky Bonds was through with life. So all the dudes that he had built for and did for, they turned their backs on him for the money, right? So Nicky Bonds, in our life, I can say in our life, because I feel like he feels the same way I feel. And certainly, let's categorize that when I say this. He understands like I understand. There ain't but two things in the jungle: predator and prey. Would you agree with me on that? Mm-hmm. If you're not the predator, you're the prey, right? So now, by any means necessary, if I do something to Melvin Farmer as a gangster, whatever it takes to kill me, is that what you're going to do, Melvin? Mm-hmm. If I violate you, right? So it's no limit on what I do if you violate me. So Mickey Bonds went to the feds, and all these dudes that violated him, that he gave his life for, he told on them. Is that snitching? By any, he had them all put in the penitentiary, even his wife.
Man, wow.
And so when I understood the story, was whatever's relevant. Cowboy did for his homie what no other nigga would do. They ain't going in the county jail and kill this dude, Eric Holden. But at least he testified against him. He made a stand. You feel what I'm saying? General Patton of the U.S. Army said it's better to make a wrong decision than no decision at all. So I have a line of snitching and ratting. Ratting is a rat eating cheese and hiding it and not letting nobody know that he did it. Charleston White is a rat. He didn't do it for his homies. He didn't try to uplift his homies. He ratted on his homie. With this guy, and I don't know him from a can of paint. I said, the only reason I'm saying that is what Melvin alleged about what he did. And I'm not justifying anything. I'm rectifying what, if you got a dude in your neighborhood and he's running around like a savage dog killing everybody, and you too scared to kill him, you need to call the police. You need to get real killers to get with this, right?
Yeah, for citizens, of course.
So if you're into this and you can't handle it, I got to get with you that you can. If I can't do it, let you put it on the podcast. You feel what I'm saying? So when these people start, oh man, he snitched and he snitched. Well, y'all on podcasts every day talking about other people's business. Ain't that snitching?
Or entertainment. But ain't nothing fake about a real young man having a life sentence. Nothing fake about that. This is not where the cameras cut off like on this show, Capone, in the next 5 or 10 minutes. This man's life has been cut off since the age of 15 for over 30-something years, behind somebody that's out here allegedly living it up, telling lies, while at the same time keeping guys that were involved with him incarcerated. You can't play both sides of the fence. And at the end of the day, the public's going to have to make a choice. What's right is right, what's wrong is wrong, regardless of that. Are you going to stand up and be strong for this young man and be a people that care, or are you going to be people that are careless listeners at the end of the day?
Before we go, what do you guys think about the Soulja Boy situation?
What happened with the Soulja Boy?
Well, with Soulja Boy and his situation, and first of all, a lot of us, we hear, oh, Charleston White, so y'all don't get it mixed up and say, well, they not telling us new Charleston White been a snitch. No, that's not true. Because usually when you hear the word snitch, the first thing you say is show us some paperwork. Charleston White, show us some paperwork where you snitched on anybody. I don't want to hear about you calling about to no prison, talking about, oh, he had a phone. Because if you was really concerned about the phone, you would have called in and said a police brought the phone in. That inmate didn't get it where he brought it in. A police brought it in if you want to make a change. So we're going back to where Charleston White been making these comments and everything and going back and forth through with this rhetoric, and we're just doing fact checks to where we want to prove a young man should be home and that the statements that Charleston White are not true, and that we standing true on what we say by trying to give back to the community.
On the Soulja Boy situation, you know, people have Charleston White misconstrued as being an OG. Soulja Boy, he claims that Soulja Boy is a rapper and that Soulja Boy didn't do nothing, he wasn't no gangster, but Soulja Boy shot somebody intruding in his house. We have no evidence of Charleston White ever shooting anybody. He had a gun, and the only thing he's ever sprayed was pepper spray. So when he's talking all this gangster stuff about who this was and who did this, Soulja Boy is lock solid that he will shoot. If you violate it, he will shoot. Charleston White hasn't made that pledge yet. The only thing we know for sure about Charleston White, he will tell. And we know that as a fact.
Let me restate my answer to the Soulja Boy. The incident that happened in South Beach, Miami, at the thing, if you listen to Charleston White, he say his crew seen Soulja Boy. So I think Charleston White got out with the intentions of confronting Soulja Boy when he got out the car. And once again, you heard somebody crying wolf. I'ma sue Soulja Boy for attacking me, when in fact Charleston White created the situation, then ran backwards. Soulja Boy never got maced or nothing like that. That's why you hear Charleston White say an innocent person got maced. But at the end of the day, once again, there was no merit to what he was saying. There will not be any arrest of Soulja Boy. I just heard that he claimed a warrant has been out for Soulja Boy. Wouldn't no warrant be out for a man of that stature? They would know where to find him and go where to pick him up. So once again, that's just false propaganda to create news headlines, to get views, sound bites, and likes, to whereas we're trying to save somebody's life. So at the end of the day with Soulja Boy, the claims that he making, they have no merit. They're idle. They have no standings in the court of law. There will not be any prosecution from the incident that happened with Soulja Boy and Charleston White. I don't see it coming. And also, let's speak a little bit before we go about Young Thug's next charges that have been filed today, I believe, where people are saying, oh, these are additional RICO Act charges. That is not what happened. If you remember when we was on your show prior to this, I told you that the process is when they arrested Soulja Boy for the indictment and the RICO Act.
Sorry, you mean Young Thug?
Young Thug. Yeah, Young Thug for the indictment and the RICO Act. They also found weapons and drugs in Young Thug's house. But I also told you that they would be in jail with no bail, no charges, and that they would come back and add these charges within 90 days when the bill of indictment came. So what has happened is he has two separate cases, one the RICO Act and one a new case. That's why now he has to make a choice. Does he severance them and keep them apart, or does he consolidate both cases and run them together during the trial of the RICO Act? And once again, I would say that would not be good, because they'll be bringing in the other evidence from a different isolated incidents into the RICO Act. So when you hear this, oh, somebody snitching and they got a new snitch, and making it look like this is part of the original indictments, when in fact it's just a new case that stems from the arrest when they raided his house from the RICO Act at the beginning. So I just think that should be reiterated, because we're hearing a lot of fake news about this and that, when in reality it's just a separate charge from when they went and arrested him.
Okay, I understand what you're saying, man. You know, unfortunately, Young Thug is in a lot of trouble, man.
He's in a lot of trouble, but he's in a county, Fulton County, which is one of the most corrupt in the state of Georgia. Fulton County, if you have money and have the wherewithal, you could pay your way, not all the way out in this case because there's so many charges, but if you was going to have a chance to where money could get you out, Fulton County is the place you want to be.
You know, before we get out of here, I just want to say, man, I hope everything works out for him. I believe you guys said next year he goes to the board. So hopefully this interview right here will, you know, stop Charleston White at least from going.
At least clear the air.
You know,
from the false statements that he's made and the things that he claims that he's did. Maybe people are now in a more wide base than me and Melvin will start challenging him on really who you are.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I don't believe that Charleston White is a character. I believe that that's who he is. All that stuff he says that he does, I believe it. That's just my opinion, though. I believe that that's who he really is.
I mean, raping, he does.
I believe he's a rapist, a snitch.
Yeah, all of that he does.
Life,
that motivational speaker, he's not. A college graduate, he's not. His mother being such a hard worker, and she's not. At $3.80 an hour and multiple boyfriends, don't make her a hoe, but make her a loose lady. You feel what I'm saying? His grandmother's a drug addict. His auntie is on crack. So he didn't come from that pristine environment that he claimed he came from.
Okay.
That's the fact.
Well, you know, he likes to go after people's family. You know, taking dirty shots at people.
Yeah.
He low blows at people. So, you know, it's only fair if you know, to put the truth out about his family. Because he sure don't have a problem about making up lies about other people's family. So, you know.
And we ain't gonna lie about him and his family. His family tree is short, cut off. His father was never in the service. If that's who his father was, he was a drunk and a dope addict. His mother made bad decisions with men. Okay. And she had somebody being in and out of her house. That's why Charleston took to the streets. He says that he was shocked that his mother was having another baby and he wasn't a baby boy anymore. He was getting punked and all his food getting ate up by her boyfriends. Poor boy.
Wow. Okay. So that's why he is the way he is.
That's why
he's been messed up from the beginning, man.
From the beginning, this didn't just happen. It's been on. That's how psychos start, and that's the psychability of this dude.
That's real.
All right.
Well, man, I can't even. You know, this is dope. I appreciate you guys, man. Like always, it's always a good time.
So everybody, let you know that we get ready to do a podcast. Melvin Farmer and Ayatollah Marv, Hitting Them Corners on Anchor Podcast. Will be coming out soon, giving actual legal advice and legal consultation for those that don't know. They can know. Melvin has expertise in research, and I have an expertise in being in prison. So we do know the law.
And they have it's another case I'm working on that hasn't even been exposed. It's going to be a story of a young lady that survived serial killer in Denver, Colorado. I won't give her name out because they're in Coral Gables digging up bodies where they've extradited the suspect, and because she survived, they found duct tape, hydrochloroform to put the victims out, and she's the only survivor where they have a tape camera, a Kodak camera, what he used because he had a ritual to where he would torture the women with candlesticks, the way he would first he'd handcuff them and tie them, hog tie them, give them the hydrochloroform to knock them out, and then film them as he tortured them. So we doing that case. I'm doing that case in Denver, Colorado, and Coral Gables, Florida. But I also have another case in New Jersey to where a 17-year-old is facing the death penalty from when he had a blunt, a marijuana blunt that he left inside a home in New Jersey, and it burnt the building down and killed his grandfather as well as another elderly man, and he's facing the death penalty. So we have other cases. So if you're looking for legal consultation or representation, or to be pointed in the right way to where you can afford an attorney at a high level, we give reasonable prices and considerations and look into what we can do in our innocent project, as opposed to other innocent projects where they want you to have DNA because it's too hard of a work to do, to read through transcripts and look for things. This is one of our areas of expertise. It's dissecting your transcripts, your prior direct examinations, to where we look for case law to maybe bring your loved one home, or domestic violence or anything of these natures. We can give you a uplift and helping hand in pointing you in the right.
Well, check that out. Check them out. You know, if you have any questions, you know what I'm saying, hit up Melvin Farmer or Ayatollah Marv. You know what I'm saying, hopefully they can help you out with your case. If any of you guys listening, you know, I sure know I could have needed some help back in the days that I but that's another story. But I appreciate you guys, man. Thanks again, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes,
Good
sure.
looking.
All
Yes,
right,
yes,
thank
no
you.
problem.